It's the Essence House Aftershow season finale.
Welcome to the Essence House Aftershow. This is episode 10. We have the season finale. We made it, guys.
We're here.
We have a special treat tonight. We have the voice behind the Essence House, Michael Goodrick, joining us tonight. Hello, Michael.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a voiceover artist. I live in Arizona in the U.S. I focus mainly in audiobooks, and I actually focus mainly in nonfiction. I do a lot of true crime and stuff like that. So when I was approached about this, we kind of talked back and forth about what the book was going to be and what we were looking for. And it ended up working out great. So yeah, I've recorded over 100 books for Audible, and I also work on producing podcasts and stuff a lot in the true crime world. So
interesting.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So do you have a podcast, or do you work with podcasts?
Yeah, so I don't have my own podcast. I work on other people's podcasts. I do a lot of editing, some consulting, and kind of producing for podcasts. A lot in the true crime world.
What kind of true crime?
Ooh,
man, I don't know. It kind of happened out of nowhere. People ask that kind of question all the time, like why serial killers and all this stuff. It seems weird, but I don't know. It just kind of happened. The first time I remember it was watching the Investigation Discovery Channel, and that's just true crime all day. So
I was going to ask you. So what's your favorite serial killer story?
Ooh, man. I mean, it's probably always the one I'm working on now, the book I'm working on now. Working on a book about John Hay at the moment, who they called him the acid alchemist. So he put people in barrels and used acid to dissolve them so that you would never find their body. He was in the UK in the 40s.
Wow.
That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, he lived in a hotel, and you really did it for money. He would kind of cash out their fortunes, and then once he ran out of money, he would go on to the next one. So he wasn't in succession either. So he was really spread out.
Okay. So it's not
made it more difficult. Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was murdering for the thrill of the murder. He was just getting rid of evidence.
He just needed money. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a job.
That is the worst job ever.
Right? God, get a job.
Don't worry, I'll get another one. Someone will show up. How many pilots have you done? Because you said you've done hundreds of these podcasts and shows and whatnot. How many one-offs have you done?
Man, I don't know. It's hard to. They all blur together now. Like I said, I've done over 100 books, but a lot of those are in series and sets and stuff. And podcasts, who knows how many I work on. I mean, I work on actively about 40 at the moment. So
wow.
It just depends on on different levels. Some of them are just you never hear me, you never see me. I just work on their audio. And then some of them I'm kind of a staple in there. I'm not the star of any shows, but some of them talk about me a lot more, or I'm in the room, or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
well, the reason I was asking is because I just thought it was funny. You get this message from Eric on Fiverr, hey man, we're doing this show. Do you want to be a part of it? We'd love to use your voice. You're sent the script. You do the first one. Do you imagine yourself, 10 episodes later? You just I'll take the job while it's here. How is your headspace when you're entering into that? Are you treating it as the one-time job or what?
Yeah, Eric kind of briefed me on what was going to happen ahead of time. If he wouldn't have, I would have just thought, I just got this job I've got to do, and I make that happen and whatever. I had a little heads up, but you never know with that kind of thing. So, you kind of go into it. You go into it a little differently, knowing there's going to be a series, because you go, all right, I can't be doing crazy voices and stuff, which I don't really do anyways. That's not, again, I work a lot in nonfiction, so that's not really my forte. But it was I have to be doing things that I can replicate long term, right? Yeah. I can't. Yeah. If you do some voice that just kills your voice, and I have to do that for 10 eps, you can't. So you think about it a little differently, knowing it's more than just, a quick thing, knowing it's going to be long-term, I would say I put more time into thinking about who these characters are because I've got to keep that going. So rather than just a one-time thing where it's like, all right, if they like it, cool, ship it off and never think about it again. Where this one, knowing it could possibly be longer, because you never know. We could have hated it the first time and never done it again, but yeah, so it is a different headspace a little bit.
I remember a couple months ago when you were sick. Well, maybe it was a month or a little while back you were sick. And I'm sure your voice was probably ready to do some jobs, but since you had already had
exactly.
Yeah, so we had to kind of hold off a couple more extra days.
Yep, that's always the weird thing with getting sick is because a lot of people, you can do your job if you're, you get sick for like 2 days and that's rough. But then it kind of like sits with you for a little while, but you can go back to work and do all the things. Can't really do that as a voiceover artist. So I have to be back at 100%, especially for stuff like this, knowing that I have to replicate what if it's a one-off, you don't know what I used to sound like. So then I can sound a little raspy or whatever, and that's okay. But for something like this, I've had this, you got to be 100% again.
It's funny that you say that because I just saw a video of Hank Azaria talking about his Simpsons work, and he was talking about on the off-season break at one point, he got into an actual screaming match with someone. Like he said, this is the angriest I've ever gotten. I screamed at them, and he said, I lost my voice for 2 weeks. And he said, at that point, I realized you can't do that. Like, you're not allowed to be passionate in your regular life anymore, man. He then went out. He had his voice box insured, like all this stuff. He's like,
oh yeah,
I make too much money at this. I can't screw around.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you feel the same way where you're like, I'm gonna just handle this calmly.
Yeah. The one thing that when I started doing this that really hit was concerts. Like going to a concert, I can't like be belting out all the words with the band anymore. I have to enjoy it in a different way because I got to go back to work tomorrow and I can't be, I can't get all raspy at the show. So.
And you perform music too. So how does that affect if you're like doing a gig and then you have to get back to recording? Your gig's a little more gentle now, or?
That's a little different because like I've done music my whole life. And in music, when I'm singing, I'm actually thinking about how I'm using my voice. Right. So like, once you've trained your voice to do a certain thing, like the joke is I used to be in a band and we toured and stuff, and I can sing all day long, no problem. But if I talk all day long, it's not the same thing because you're not thinking about how you're using your voice when you're just talking. And that's what really, like when we were on the road and you lost your voice or it was getting rough, it didn't affect the show. You still sang every night. You just didn't talk in the van or the green room or whatever. You became silent for everything else because that was the way that you can really mess up your voice when you're not thinking about it. When you're thinking about it, the goal is like it's a muscle. So once you like taught it what you want it to do and you're focusing on it, it'll last forever. But if you're not thinking about it that's when it messes stuff up.
Okay.
Do you have daily concoctions and things that you utilize to help continue to like sort of heal your throat and all that kind of stuff? Something that maybe you do daily or at least when things get rough?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like any other muscle, you stretch before you work out so that you're not sore the next day. It's the same kind of thing. My like daily routine is in the mornings, I'll do a lot of editing that I do for whether it's for podcasts or like if I recorded the day before, I'll save all the editing till the morning. And while I'm editing, I'm doing vocal warm-ups. I'm, drinking tea concoctions and all kinds of stuff. Not only when things are rough, but when things are good, to be sure to maintain that.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite tea?
Yeah.
Man.
We're tea drinkers.
I'm drinking tea right now.
I drink, being, singing and voiceover stuff, I drink a lot of Throat Coat.
Throat Coat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a specific brand. It's like a lemon and there's some other stuff in it. But
cool.
I do a lot of podcasting and sometimes
Yeah.
After an hour, I'm done. I can't even speak.
Yep.
So I know I have to stop. So I'm like, I need that tea.
Yep. Yep. Tea and cough drops. Yeah. Anything to keep that like something there. I mean, especially in Arizona, it's super dry here, so you can get your throat can just get ripped up if you're not like hydrating and that kind of stuff. I mean, I drink water all day, every day.
So I know that you do a ton of shows. So if you don't have answers to these, it's okay. But do you have any favorite moments from Essence House?
Ooh.
Any things that have happened or any stuff where you read it and you were like, whoa, okay, like anything? This is kind of our moment.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's what's been fun about this, like this project in particular, working in true crime a lot. Either I know what happens, right? Because it's history, like it's true stuff, or they start to kind of run together. And so even if I don't know what happens, I can kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, he's this kind of person. I can kind of, all right. And so that's what's been fun about this, especially in like the saga way that we've been doing it, is that like I end a chapter and go, but I want to know what happens next. And I still have to wait till that next, and I'm trying to think. So in stuff like that, there's moments where a lot of times I try to read a script like this as a reader would. And so I don't go to the end of the chapter to find out what happens and then come back and start the recording. I try to kind of go as the reader would, so that I sound like, the character also doesn't know what's going to happen either. So I don't want to ever foreshadow that on accident, for anything. So I'm trying to remember if there's been any moments where I've had to stop and go, oh my gosh, and then like go back to re-record that because I sounded maybe too surprised at what was happening. Yeah, I think, and this, now that we've gotten into this part, like there's definitely been moments where I've gone, oh, okay, I think I have kind of figured out, this thing. And now we've been thrown into this whole other thing. This lady shows up and you're like, wait, what? What's going on? Like, I think knowing that the time travel thing definitely threw me the first time, because I started it and I was like, okay, cool. There's this like magic, whatever. And I was like, wait a minute. How long has this guy been? Wait, the fort? What's going? So I think that was probably one of my favorites, is the time travel portion of that.
I love the time travel. I found out, like you, I would hear every new episode at the end of our recording. So I got to hear it. Then I'd be like, when
we don't let Jess we do our after show, and then sometimes we'll let her listen to the next one after we've talked about the most recent.
Oh, okay.
She's generally about a week ahead of people. But
yeah.
Well, and it's kind of taken from the same sort of organic, and I love, by the way, your organic style, the idea that you just want to come at it fresh. I think that's brilliant. I love that. And we kind of play that with Jess, where it's like, let's not give Jess any extra information, because what if all of a sudden she's asking questions? It's like,
yeah,
we're not there yet, girl.
It gives away something. Yep.
So we have this fun thing, because we all are very good friends. We'll usually we'll already have the next episode recorded by you, and so at the end of this, we'll be like, hey, you want to hang out? We're gonna play the next episode. Yeah. And so then she gets to find out what happens. She's like, oh man. So she gets another week or so to kind of process it.
Yeah. Come up with the questions and stuff. Yeah.
I was going to ask how you kind of chose the voices for each character. Does that just come to you? You just kind of lay that out in the beginning?
Yes. Again, I don't do it a ton. There are guys who can teach master classes on like characterization and voicing and stuff. And so again, it's not like my expertise or anything, but kind of the way I approach it. Yeah, is I think I asked a couple questions at the beginning about who these people were to Eric, and then from there, especially that first one, I kind of read pieces of it. Usually I'll read kind of the narration part, because I try to keep the narration and whoever the most main character is, I try to make their voices as close to my regular voice as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Because they're going to be speaking the most. They're going to be, so it's harder to like make this crazy voice and then that be the one that has, and so it's really easy for me to go, oh, this guy has similar to my voice, but there's still a difference between the narrator's voice and his voice on a slight level. And then it was like learning who, so I just blanked on his name, Tristan, is that?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like learning kind of who Tristan was, and that right as we're introduced to him is I would read the narration portions or record the narration portions and not the dialogue yet on that first one, and kind of go through and then go back and record the dialogue kind of once I felt like I understood a bit of who Tristan was, just as something to, I don't want to come off and make Tristan this big burly macho voice and then learn, oh, that's not really who he is. Which is why a lot of like fiction narrators, they read the entire book before they ever hit record, because they don't want to find out that so-and-so character in chapter 10 is actually Irish and they've had this weird voice for it, So when they're doing like full, when you have these like full cast kind of narration audiobook things, less of the narrator style and more of the like real characterization, they have to read the entire book first and then go back and record it, which again creates some other things for how they know how the story ends now and those kind of things. But yeah.
So when you get to a chapter like our chapter 9, where we started bringing in a whole family right at the beginning of the story that's never been in the story before.
Yep.
Kind of like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, it causes, a slight, once you see it, you're like, okay, you stop. That's when you kind of read ahead and figure out, okay, what do we have happening here? And especially the saga, it's like, are these people going to be around? Am I going to have to do this voice for 10 chapters, or are they just going to show up and leave again? Because if they're just going to leave again, I can differentiate their voice a little more and not have to worry about keeping that voice up. And then, so you never know. And there have been moments, not necessarily in Essence House, but there have been times in my career where you choose a voice and then you go, oh no, now I have to keep this thing up for a long time.
I really like your take on the female voices.
Yeah,
you don't try to do this like crazy, annoying falsetto thing. You just give it enough of a kind of higher tinge. You go, okay, that's a woman, but he's not trying to be anything he's not. Yeah. I like that a lot, because I feel like if you really tried to push a female voice, it might take me out of the narrative.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think you handle that very well.
Well, and that's the idea. The idea of a narrator narrating an audiobook is it's your voice in your head. And if you were to just read the words off the page, you wouldn't create some crazy thing. It would just be your voice a little different, And so you come up in pitch and you change a little bit of things so that you can tell it's female, but you wouldn't think that's a girl in some other, like if you just heard that, you wouldn't go, oh, that's a girl. Because that would, again, I think you got it right on. It would take you out of the story. You want just enough of a difference. Now, what gets really difficult is if there's 10 females in the story, especially if females are talking to each other, like that would be very difficult. Oftentimes, I'm not the narrator for that kind of thing.
I can't.
I'm not your guy.
I can only change once you get up here. I've limited my choices a lot, and so I can only change that so much.
We'll keep that in mind.
Even like a huge scene between I'm blanking on names again.
Tim and Tristan.
Greta and the girl that Tristan.
Jess.
I literally had Greta and Jess. I didn't want to say them wrong, but I need to just trust my gut. Even if there was a huge scene between them, the lines might get blurry, because their voices are very similar in the audio world. But I chose those voices kind of understanding those two characters probably aren't going to have they're not going to have 45 minutes of them talking back and forth.
All right.
So
it's funny because when Eric and I both write it, but whenever I'm given the opportunity to write an episode, I always, because he does the sound work and he adds a lot of really cool sound effects to it, I love to screw with him. and create some sounds and whatnot. And just be like, what are you gonna do now, buddy? And we talked about this beforehand, but I really wanted to mention this. We inadvertently screwed with you by at the end of episode 3, we put a song in there, and we thought this dude that's gonna say the song. Like, we were fine with that.
Yeah.
And you blew us away, and you sang the song. We were like, oh crap, Mike can sing. Like,
yeah. So being a musician and stuff, I came up on that and was like, and I had that thought too. I'm like, are they just looking for a narrator to do this, or do they, if they like, and I didn't ask, right? I just was like, I feel like it'll surprise them. They're not going to expect this, but I feel like this will be a good thing. And so, I have to like change recording setups and all that kind of stuff for at least settings and stuff to make so that singing sounds good. But obviously you don't want it to sound like it turns into a recording of something else. So yeah, I played with that a little bit before I sent that over, to make it sound like the book, but also it sounds like a good singing, which, I'm a singer in general. So I figured I could pull that off.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah, it was
nailed it. Yeah, totally.
But it was probably I'd say one of my favorite endings, just because how nice that closed off that episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that there's 3 of us here who all worked on that episode, and yet, like, this is literally the first time we're meeting, and yet it gelled so well. Like, it just, and everybody kind of really took their part in that seriously, and it's just really cool, man. Like, just really neat.
Yeah, it's definitely worked out really well. That it's that sometimes you just find the right people and find projects you like working on. And yeah, every time I get a thing on my phone that's like, Eric's got a new chapter for you, I'm like, oh great. Like, this is like, it's partly because I also know the project, right? So it's like, I don't have to learn anything new. I don't have to like worry about what someone's looking for. Like, I feel like I understand what the project's looking for, and then it makes it my job a lot more fun, for sure.
Yeah, like my note when I entered it all is like, yep, it's all good.
Yeah. In every order you have to, it's like, do you have any specific notes on how you want things done, any of that? And yeah, now we've gotten to the point where it's like, nope, you know what you're doing. And
except for the pronunciation of the museum. I had
yep. And that was helpful. Sometimes pronunciations can get crazy, and I don't really have the time to go looking for a ton of pronunciations. And so Eric did it perfectly. Here's a sound bit of what it sounds like. Great. I can listen to that a few times and then try to say that the correct pronunciation in whoever's voice it has to be.
And as someone who speaks French, you did very good, by the way.
Well, thank you.
You did good.
It was helpful that the characters, it wasn't like that was their native language either. So
since this is the season finale,
yes,
and you did just record that recently, do you have any theories or whatnot? I mean, I like to think that was a pretty rough cliffhanger. So do you have any theories or thoughts going into it?
Oh man, I mean, that's the thing. I feel like I get cliffhangered every week, and I guess everyone else does too. But I get cliffhangered every time I get a new thing. I'm like, oh man, I wish I knew what. Because in a normal project, I would have the whole book. So if a chapter ended, I go, okay, cool. I'm just going to keep recording because I want to know what happens. And that's projects that I really enjoy get done a lot faster than projects I don't necessarily enjoy, because that happens. I go, oh no, I'm gonna do I was gonna stop here, but I'm gonna do another chapter because I got to know what happens. So I get cliffhangered all the time. I think if you would have asked me at the end, I don't remember exactly story wise where the chapter's broken up. But before Greta shows up and anything like that, if you would have asked me if I had theories, I probably could have pieced some stuff together. But in these last couple, when all this is, I am so lost now. I have no idea what could happen.
The sky's the limit.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like,
I was gonna just ask if you had your favorite character that from the whole series.
Man, I was like, it's not necessarily my favorite voice to do or whatever, but I feel like Jess's character, like when the first time we meet her, I definitely didn't realize she was going to be more in the story. Luckily, she was one of the first, if not the first female we have contact with. And so I just kind of did my regular female voice, which worked out because now now she's even more prominent. But I think I was so interested in her character, being that, obviously they reveal this to, the truth to her for the first time and the way she reacts and all these things. And then when we come forward and realize, wait, she's now made herself a part of this thing. And so I think that she's definitely been my favorite character just because I've been so interested in what her part in that whole thing was going to be. I was like, when they first leave, I'm like, oh, well, she was cool. It's a bummer, I liked her, but she served her purpose. And then I was like, oh wait, she's back, and now she's like, so yeah, that was I think she's so. I'd probably say Jess is my favorite at this point.
Well, kudos to you, Chuck.
Oh, dude, I just had so much fun with that one. And to be honest, actually, didn't you bring her up at the end of episode 4?
Yeah, I started her.
And then I was like, no.
Next level.
Yeah, I was like, Tristan needs someone there. He can't handle this on his own. And so I thought, let's create that foil. And then the more that kind of came out, the more I fell in love with her. And I was like, man. And of course, she's named after one of our favorite people. So I was just like, dude. So I wrote that and I finished that off. And I was like, what do you think? And he's like, that's a fun idea. Yes, let's do it. So Jessica was never on the table. She was never going to be a part of all of this. Yeah. And then when she got in there, it was just like, oh, dang, like this feels like it was supposed to be there all along. So great. Mm-hmm. We have it all sort of outlined what we want to do. And then, so I'll know, okay, episode 5, this is where I need to start, where I need to end, and the main points. Yeah. Now I get to throw my stuff in there. And
how to get them there, yeah.
Yeah. And so I got to really play with Jessica, and I was like, cool, I'm going to keep her in there. And then, episode 6, then Eric's able to pick it up, and he goes, cool, what am I going to do? And so he messages me, and he says, I have this really cool idea, but I'm not going to pitch it to you. I'm just going to write it. And I was like, okay, why? And he's like, because if I pitch it, it'll suck and you'll say no. But I feel like if I write it, I can do good. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I trust you. Like, why not? So he wrote, and that's where the walking stick comes in. The walking stick was never a part of it. And now, the walking stick is a major part of the series. And even moving forward, we're like, oh, that saves so much trouble. Like, that has really helped us an awful lot. Yeah. And I feel like if he had pitched a walking stick early on, I'd be like, that's lame. Yeah. So lame. It's funny the way we've been able to sort of all work off each other and create these things and just be like, just let me play here. Trust me, it's going to be fun.
And it's always worked out. So.
Yeah. We've been lucky that way. So do you have any projects that you're working on that you would like to tell us about, tell the world about?
Yeah.
That you're really excited about?
Yeah. Trying to think. My world is so interesting in that most of the things I do, either I can't talk about or like I'm just the voice of someone else's project. So I don't really get to be a part of it. I mean, this is pretty rare when it comes to like my work. When Eric asked, I was like, yeah, I'd be happy to. Like, I get that I am, like my voice is a pretty key part of this thing. Yeah. It doesn't usually happen that way. It's like they got their thing, the client got their thing, and now they're off doing whatever they wanted with it. I have no idea what's happening with it, or even where. Oftentimes, I wouldn't even know where to point people. I wouldn't know a website or anything to point people to unless it was in the script that they gave me, right? They hired me to do the job. I recorded it. And who knows what, on Audible, sometimes I'll search my name on Audible and be like, oh yeah, I forgot that I recorded that book because it wasn't a part of, I have like the way that like narration works is like I can get hired outside of Audible or I can get hired like kind of inside of Audible. And inside Audible, I can see my sales stats and all kinds of stuff. But if you hire me outside, I don't know where it happens or if you even put my name on it, you know? And so, yeah, it differs a lot. So oftentimes when people ask the question, it's like, here's what I'm recording at the moment. Like what I was recording an hour ago was a serial killer book about this guy named John Hay, for a publisher that I record a lot of their true crime books. And then I work on a podcast that I really love called Luminol. It's a podcast between like these two girls host it. I'm oftentimes in the room or they'll talk about me because I do a lot of work for them and stuff. But I'm a big part of that. And so we're doing like a big Zoom party with listeners and I'll be there, you know, so I'm a little more part of that podcast. It's called Luminol, which is like the chemical that people spray on blood to find.
Blood, yes, the blood spray. Yeah.
It's a true crime podcast where these two girls, they each have a case that they kind of pitch and talk about. The other one doesn't know which case is coming up. It's usually based on a theme, and they drink a beer from like the city or whatever kind of themed to the crime. And so they talk about the beer as well. That's kind of one of their unique spins on the, you know, the genre. So
cool.
We don't have enough alcohol in Essence House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Canadian beer at one point.
Well, hey, we have a dude who's stuck in a wine in a
exactly.
Wine cellar, so like
there's plenty there.
We need to get some product placement.
Sponsored by White Claw.
I mean, there's plenty of alcohol in Essence House for me. You don't ever see it, but you know.
There is for us too, don't you worry.
those late night recording sessions, I mean, they
Well, and you were talking about how quickly you go through stuff, and I have to be honest, like there's sometimes where I'm like, I throw off a script and Eric's like, okay, cool, and then he'll get in touch with me, you know, sometime within a day or two and be like, yeah, okay, so it's done. I'm finishing up the sound. I'm like, whoa, wait, what, really? Like, yeah. You just, I mean, I know it's only a 20-minute show, but of course, still, there's a lot of work to it. And like you said, especially with having to do the narration and then go back and do the dialogue, that's a big deal. And there's definitely some work there. So I'm always blown away with how quickly you do that. And I'm usually like, I think he must like us because, man, this is flying by. Like,
I mean, that's what I said, you know, like I said earlier, when you have a project you enjoy, those get done a lot faster. Because if I'm in the middle of a slog of some sort that I'm, you know, some medical text or something that, you know, I do a lot of explainer videos. So, you know, when your company sends you a video on how to use your software, that's my voice, right? Sometimes. And so
voice for my work.
Yeah. And so I have to, like, if I'm in the middle of something like that and slogging through, you know, 40 pages of medical, whatever, here's how to put your, you know, click on this button and then go down to this drop down menu and, you know, that kind of stuff. And I get a message from Eric like, hey, a new chapter. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take a break and go ahead and tackle this. This is way more fun.
Glad we could be your break.
Yeah. I love that. We are the Kit Kat of your job.
Exactly. And so, yeah, you know, it ends up being, and, you know, this is my full-time job. This is what I do full-time. So I'm in the office, you know, pretty close to 9 to 5. And now that we can't go anywhere else, I end up working a lot more too. So, so, you know, it allows me to kick out a 20-minute show. You know, obviously it takes me a lot more than 20 minutes, but I can kick it out in a day because I've got 8 hours or whatever. So
have you found that there's a lot more work for you now because of what's going on? Like, do you find your demand has gone up?
Yes. And for me, I don't know if it's like this in the industry as a whole. People are, you know, I've heard both sides of it, but for me, yeah. My joke when people ask me, you know, like, you know, my friends or family are like, you know, how does that work for you? Because, you know, obviously, like, I don't get laid off or anything like that. I already work from home. You know, like what is that? How is that different for you? And I've just said, yeah, authors are home, and so they can write their books which means they can finish them, and now they need narrators. So yeah, my demand has definitely gone up. I've had to like extend times and all kinds of stuff. I think maybe it's happened once with you, Eric, where you're like, wait, your time got extended. I'm like, yeah, for any new clients, I extend this time because I'm so busy. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to stuff. Right now I'm in the middle of moving my studio too, which creates a whole nother thing. But yeah. Currently I live in one place and my studio is at another place because I'm waiting for some gear to get shipped so that then I can finally move my studio to my living space now. So I own a house and I'm renting a different house so that my studio can be in that house until the new stuff gets here. So I'm not going to tear it down and reset up the old studio just to, in a week, set up the new one, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good luck on getting that all finished. And
Yeah, I'm excited. It's it's an opportunity to upgrade the studio, which is nice. But
yeah, some new equipment.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
Yeah,
new voice.
Yeah.
Yep, always great.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
Do we have any final questions?
I don't think I do.
I think yeah. You wanna just kind of do like, I guess,
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Mike. This was great.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a blast working on it. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Us too.
We really appreciate you being around, bud.
Yeah, for sure. No problem.
All right, thanks.
Take care, dude.
Talk to you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.
No, it was really interesting to hear from Michael and get to hear his perspective on how the story developed for him and how he enjoyed doing it as well.
Yeah, it's been nice. Like every few episodes, he makes some kind of comment, like back to me about it. Like, and it really feels like he's been enjoying it as it's gone along. So it was fun to hear it firsthand.
Well, and being outside of that, it was nice to be able to hear. I mean, you've always been very good about, oh, dude, yeah, I think you really like this one. I'm like, oh, okay, great. But being able to actually like hear his enthusiasm and see his take on things, that was really cool. I had a really good time. We definitely have to have him back on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we mentioned before, that was our meeting right there of Michael. Like I've been communicating with him for 5 months now, and this is the first time like we've face to face, not necessarily in person, but just about as in person as you can get today.
Right.
Well, and for the longest time, he was just like a friend on Fiverr for you, right? Like now we know him. We were able to kind of like get to know who the guy is behind the voice. Like that's cool.
Yeah, and he's done such a great job for us. It's been amazing.
And he's a really talented guy. So check out some good stuff. If you ever get the chance to check out his music or anything, please do, man. He's really talented.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was interesting to hear how he like came up with the voices and how he kind of figures it out and his process really, and how he was right there with me every episode. We're like, we want more. Oh, there is no.
Oh, technically, he was right ahead of you.
He was.
He wouldn't even give you that one.
Because it was him that you were hearing.
Speaking of that, though, should we do a summary of this giant-sized episode?
Yeah, this one's your baby.
Oh man, there was a lot. I had to name a lot of characters in this one. So we start out from the end of episode 8. So episode 9 was his complete departure. So episode 10 now, we had Greta and her gang, her goons, with their guns drawn on Tim, Tristan, Jessica, Rick, and our hapless security guard. And of course, they have all the scientists and stuff there. They're at Essence Corners. I think one of the funner parts early on was they're being led away, and Tim ends up saying, "Hey, what is the Essence House?" And of course, you expect it to be this amazing science-filled explanation, or this complete like I'm not telling you anything. And instead, it's stolen property. It's not yours at all. It's a small nothing, and that house is just wood, timber, and rocks. And think that really probably surprised a lot of people. And then, of course, we get some really beautiful moments inside the little empty coffee shop with both Tim and Rick, which was kind of nice to finally be able to do, and Tristan and Jessica, which was a lot of fun to really finally see them and kind of play that out. Then, of course, Rick gets mad. Rick goes a little, I think we called it Waist Hulk.
The sound effects during that part were so much fun to put together. There was so much going on. It was such a challenge, but
it was good, dude. I bet they were. And so he goes all Waist Hulk. He ends up smashing up the joint, taking out the two guards that were watching them. Of course, Tim, Tristan, and Jessica, they decide, we gotta help Rick, even though he's a freaking beast. And they go and he's in the middle of this huge fight. He ends up taking down some of the machinery, knocking down the shed. So the shed's gone. The shed, which was our, I know, right? The shed it felt like a character for a long time. The shed's knocked down. Greta ends up taking a shot at Tim. Tristan takes the bullet. Rick is affected by this. Rick ends up kind of that waist sort of, I'm not even sure how to describe it, kind of leaves him, so to speak, or at least dissipates. We get to see the real Rick. Jessica and Tristan end up running away at Tim's beckoning, and they're picked up by our dude Barnabas, who gets them the heck out of there. Tim grabs Rick, takes him into the house, while Greta grabs the stone. Tim tries to take himself back into time so that he can hopefully get his grandfather to help things out. And when he walks through the door, there is absolutely nothing. And that's where we leave you, folks. I'm sorry, that was mean.
Very.
I love it.
And that was something that we had planned. That ending was planned pretty much from the get-go.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about this episode and chapter 9, when you think about it, the whole, the previous 8 episodes have generally been Tim and Tristan and one other character, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Episode 9 introduced you to, I don't know, 6 new characters, and they were all interacting together out of nowhere. And they weren't all new, but they were basically new for what they were. Yeah. They were definitely different in a different context of the story. And then episode 10 was just this whole huge cast that they were all kind of came together at the end of episode 8, but that was a lot to juggle. You did a good job with it.
Oh, thank you, dude. Really cool. I had a blast, and I mean, I wrote most of that in one kind of shot. I think I had 1,000 words, and in one night I just peeled through 3,000. I remember ending it, and it was 2:11 in the morning. I was like, I'm done. It's done. And the problem was and I had said this before. I was like, man, I'm gonna try to get it done in the next day or so. And as I got to one thing, so I started writing about Tim and Tristan, Tristan and Jessica. I was so excited. I was so enjoying that. And then right after that, I started the stuff with Rick kind of hulking. And I'm like, oh, this is a really important moment. Yes. And then that happens. And I got swept up in it, and I just had to keep going. There was no real good spot for me to go, okay, cool, I'm going to walk away. So I remember starting writing that at 9 in the evening, and I was just kind of tapping away and just did this monster session at 2:11. I'm like, I'm done.
Wow.
I'm done.
That's dope.
So, yeah, it was worth the late night. It was awesome.
And that was actually one of the ones where I didn't have to add an awful lot. I got to nuance it and play with it, but we had that one pretty much plotted out.
Yeah, and we had to the way that we originally intended to write it, because you were going to do your part and I was going to do my part, and we were going to bounce back and forth and take it. And then it got to the point where I just had to ask you to take it over, and you just grabbed it and ran.
I'll be 100% honest. I was so intimidated. I was really excited to be able to knock it back and forth because I thought, cool, I get to play off of someone and all this. And so when it was like, man, do you mind kind of, like, because you had your kiddo and you had this stuff going on, you were just like, hey, man, do you mind? I was like, no, of course not. And I never wanted to say, like, I'm really intimidated right now, but I was. And I really felt like I had to bring my A game. Like, this was such an important episode. So it was an honor to be able to do it. And I had so much fun. I love those characters. I would probably say my favorite part, even though this was like some of the most action, we got to have Rick hulking out. And then in the episode before, we got to have Rick versus Barnabas. So we're finally getting some action in here. And yet I should be loving the action, but I had so much fun with Jessica and with Tristan. And I felt like that moment probably had so much of my soul in it. I felt like so much of that had been untold. And Tristan had really been waiting for 5 episodes to finally, for half the season, to finally have a minute to talk to her. And I was like, and that all of that just kind of came out. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun because a lot of that, that stuff's like while Jessica was added, like during the writing of the story, like as soon as she was added, the Maggie Simpson stuff was written in. Like you had all that like just waiting there to reveal. Yeah, that was fun. So, and then you played off Rick's conversation with Tim was a fun one because it was episode 9. I think set up all the good Rick.
Yeah, and that was something that I really got to play with because of the good work that you did. And that's why I like this so much is that the work that you did in 9 really made that conversation between Rick and Tim so much easier to handle. I really got a good idea of who he was at his essence, and we got to have those amazing moments. And it was really sad, like you got to have him admit that he had screwed up. And then you got to see these quick moments between him and Tim. And it was a lot of fun to be able to him and Tristan, which was a lot of fun to be able to play with and make happen.
I'm
sorry, we can't shut up.
No, I want to say, like, how did they get out of the room?
I'll give this away.
Okay.
It happens. Like, at some point,
I'm kind of bothered.
He's not going to be in the room anymore.
They're stuck in the nowhere, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And that was something that was really hard to describe because we knew in our head what was going on and how that was going to be and what that is and everything. Obviously, I can't say anything now, but how do you say that? And so all I can say is like nothing.
That's just nothing.
White, it's nothing. And I didn't want it to be black because if it's black, then it could be like shadow. I wanted people right away know it's like, no, this is not normal. It's
like
nothing.
There's nothing. No. Yeah, the white made it creepier, I think.
Which is weird, right?
Because you think black would, but you're like, no. At least like there's like maybe there's a monster. But white, you're like, there ain't Jack out there.
It feels very like I can get a bit claustrophobic, and like that just the thought of that, just the wine cellar, and I mean, just the body and everything about it just
how big is
freaks me out.
Oh man, so Eric could not be locked in a wine cellar very long. Sorry.
Well, it depends on how much wine is there.
It depends on how much wine.
And if anybody stashed some cases of Canadian.
You're good. So once the liquor runs out.
Well, and we did say early on that it had been fairly ransacked. There's not a lot of stuff in there.
Shoot.
So you're not going to have Good Time Timmy.
No, that is an ugly situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got a dying Rick. We've got Tim stuck in there with him. with no idea where or what's going on. Heck, you don't know. Maybe if they go back to the other door, he could just walk out. We don't know what's up.
Oh, we haven't seen the other door. What if the other door is black?
We have no idea. All we know is he tried to go into the main house and it was empty. So he could go to the other door and just be like, oh, cool, I'm back at the corners.
Yeah, so that's their situation. We have Barnabas with Jess and Tristan in the car. That was a fun little conversation with Barnabas and Jess too.
Yeah, the exchange there. I like that.
Yeah.
I think Barnabas will take care of business like he generally does. Get Tristan to the hospital or doctor.
Though even Barnabas said, my file doesn't tell me a lot after this.
Yeah, Barnabas to this point has been acting on orders from Grandpa. So
his orders are done.
Yeah, that's over now.
Shit.
Yeah. And that was something that we were very excited about, because as much as we have it charted and we have a good idea, it now means, this second half of the drama for the characters is uncharted. Mm-hmm. They don't know. There's no rudder. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. Tristan was told, you need to protect your cousin, and he did it. He stepped up and he did what he had to do. But what does that mean going forward? Is he going to live? If he does, what's he going to be like? What's up with Rick? What's up with Tim? All of it. All of that is literally like they don't have directions anymore.
And Tim started off this whole thing very confused, like from the very beginning of the story. He's been kind of gathering information here and there. Now he's got the info, and he had some orders for a bit too. Like he was kind of secondary to himself. Like he was kind of going through some motions, and now there's no motions to go through. He's kind of got to be in control. And he stepped up in this episode, and that was kind of one of the main points for him, was he was stepping up and starting to take control of what's going on. So that's when he hit Greta up with the questions and got some more answers. So like now he's got more information than he's ever had, and he doesn't have anybody to give him orders. He's the guy.
Yeah. I almost at this point, because there's not a lot that we can't give you much. So I kind of want to turn the table, so to speak. I'm going to come at you, Jess, and I want to be like, dude, what were some of your favorite moments? As a fan, you've been here watching this and listening along with us all the way through. What were some of your favorite moments at the end of this season?
Should I start with the season finale, or should I just no?
No. For the season finale, what all this build up and everything. What are some of your favorite moments?
I liked Jessica coming back. That was really great. Just because it was really cool, not because of the name. Just saying. And Rick really kind of hulking out. That whole scene is just great. The writing and the sound and the voice. So it's like everything came together with Mike too. That kind of helped it all to be that like great scene and this big action scene. What made me sad, and it's interesting to find out about, the Essence House. It wasn't the Essence House. It's that stone that it's stolen. That was kind of interesting. So then it made me think, so what's up with Grandpa Roland? Where did he get this? What is the history behind it then? So he took it from these people. Then, did the Essence Guard come? Well, now I'm like going into theories. So the Essence Guard came because they protected this stone that they stole, right? Maybe.
Right.
Maybe.
We ain't saying nothing, but keep going.
I think those are really, honestly, really good theories, and you're
okay.
You're making some really interesting sense.
Like early on, it was hard for people to have theories, but now there's so much information out there and a lot of the lore is kind of out there, so it's interesting.
it's interesting. And then and the whole nothing and being stuck in nowhere in time. I know we talked about the whiteness and stuff, but to me that really kind of was whoa, they could just disappear there, and how could anybody get to them if they don't know where they are or when?
Yeah.
But no, I love the whole thing. It was hard for it to listen to it end because generally I have another episode to listen to. So today it's going to be hard because it's all right, now we got to wait until the next season. So that's even rougher.
We really don't have anything for you. Not at all. It's not even it's not because the last time Eric played a joke on us that you fans won't know.
Oh, they don't know about that.
No, you don't, because we did just get to talk about it, but after every episode, every one of these episodes, we would show the next episode to Jess. And sometimes it would be recorded. Most times it would be recorded. And sometimes, let's say, Chuck didn't quite hit his deadline on time. And so it's okay, it's written though. And I would read it to them and we'd have a good old time. But she would always get that episode.
Yeah.
And so this time it was yeah, sorry, man. We've just gotten it off. It's not ready. And we were okay, fine. And so we recorded this and we were all ready to go. And then Eric's so do you want to listen to the next episode? And we're wait, what? And you're yeah, by the way, I just finished all the sounds for it. And I wasn't even aware that it had been recorded. I was ready to be I can read it. I don't mind. And you're no. Nope, it's done. I'm going to do some tweaks, but it's all there. And I'm you son of a. So that was something nice. We got to do that.
Yeah, that was fun.
No, it was so nice.
Not this week.
But this week, there's no surprise, guys. I have episode 1, season 2, episode 1. Here's a script.
That would be a good surprise. Jess had it.
I pull it out. I'm
that'd be great.
I've been working on this.
I would love to hear your fan script.
Yeah, let's check out fan fiction.
Hey, I would be all about that. Where do you think we are? Oh, they did good. We should just go with that. Yeah.
That's the crap we were going to do.
Yeah, right. You're way smarter than us. Jeez. We need to bring them in. Do we want to talk about the wink wink extra?
Yeah, I think so. Because for one, eventually this would be available for all viewers. But, if you're a patron at this point, you've had a week. So, sure.
By all means.
I don't know what we could say about it since it's
what can you tell us about it?
But
we can reveal that it exists.
Yeah, it does exist. So one thing I did different on this episode with the sound was I had a music underlay for that last scene to try to drive the emotion. Usually it's all, sound effects, and then it goes to the musical ending.
Bing, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. So this time it did the music under the whole last scene, then our musical ending, and then a second later there's footsteps and there's a whole new scene. So if you stopped when you started hearing our music, definitely go back and check it out. I don't know how much you want to say otherwise about the scene.
Yes.
Honestly, there's not much we can tell you about it except for what you hear. So really, go listen to it, and we would love to hear your theories.
What did you think about that, Jess?
I wanted to know what the heck is going on and what time are we in, and who is this guy?
That's such a fun thing that you can only do in a time travel movie. Is any other time you're like, what is going on? Where is this? And it's always where. And now it's when are we?
Yeah.
Right? When? Because I was when is this? Is this a flashback? Is this what the hell's going on? And who is this man?
Yeah.
How is he related to the story?
So, I guess if you haven't watched it yet, pause this and go check it out. But I love parallel to what was going on in the end of the episode to what's going on in the teaser scene. Because I think that there's some automatic assumptions that you make, and then there's a point in it where you're like, whoa, wait, what?
So for me, my big influence, well, first off, I mean, the reason why I thought it would be fun, I'm like, dude, Marvel after credit scenes, like, why are we not doing this? Let's have some fun. So that was kind of the first thing. But one of the things that I love, I don't know if you guys ever played the games, but Metal Gear Solid. You would play a Metal Gear Solid, you'd play it all the way through, and then they just had this like little 30-second to minute, after the whole game's done, everything's done, they'd have this little 30-second to minute long vocal thing, and it was only voices. You didn't get to see anything, and you're like, what the crap are you talking about? And it led into the whole next game, but at the time you've got no idea what they're saying. Like it makes no sense in what's going on. So when we had that idea, I was like, I really wanted to write it in that idea where you're now going to be able to head into, Essence House season 2. You're going to get a couple episodes in there, and then you're going to be like, I got to go back and listen to that scene again.
Right.
And all of that will make sense. And then it's like, that's so fun. And you get that whole added kind of feel to it. So it was a lot of fun to do, and it'll pay off for sure.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot we can say about season 2. We'll probably have some sort of announcement shortly about when.
When that was going to be my question. Do you have an idea of when do you think?
Yeah, we couldn't give a date right now, so I wouldn't even hazard. But I think about the season itself, there'll be some new characters coming in. I think. Again,
some new landscapes.
Yeah, some new probably where and whens.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be interesting to see how and who and what survives the finale. I mean, there was some
survives. Yep.
There's some potential casualties there.
I was hoping I was like, but maybe they'll be okay.
I mean, we have some pretty roughed up characters by the end of this.
You think too many bullet holes? It's
pretty optimistic to think that they'll probably be okay. I'll say that.
If they all survive, they're not going to be the same.
Yeah, nobody's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, Rick, I don't know, man. He doesn't even have medical attention, so I'm kind of like, I'm going to say Rick might not be okay. So it's safe to...
I wouldn't say it's safe to say anything, really.
Rick hasn't been okay in 25 years.
Oh, shit. I'm just hoping Tristan's fine, so I'm just being optimistic there. He's young, maybe he'll be strong, but bullet holes are still bullet holes.
They certainly are.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have any theories moving forward into the next season?
What do you want to see, Jess?
Yeah.
I want to see Barnabas.
Oh, go back and see Barnabas as a youth.
I want to see some Barnabas backstory.
Mr. Gianni did question, what did this guy go through in his past to make him so calm right now?
Yes, I want to see some Barnabas wrecking up some crap back in the day.
Well, I have Wendy here with me. Wendy, is there anything that you want to see next season?
Yeah, I want to see them get the cornerstone back.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right. That's a pretty fair. Let's just get everything back again. Okay.
I want to see what they have to go through in order to get it back.
Yeah.
That's what I would.
Because you, I mean, as much as obviously we can't answer that question, you kind of feel like something's going to come around.
Yeah.
But what is that? Yeah.
I want to know why Grandpa Roland stole it.
Well, there's the possibility that they say that he stole it, but maybe they're the ones that are stealing.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah, Greta is the villain.
Yeah.
Or is she?
Yeah.
Ah! Dang it.
I think another question that a lot of people also, I think we don't want to ask it, but there's some really unhealthy things that have kind of happened. And I think one of the questions that a lot of people might want to be asking is, if Roland knew all this stuff, he knew his son was going to die, his daughter-in-laws were going to die, he knew all this terrible stuff was going to happen, why did he make sure that it happened? What is so damned important? Because right now it's looking pretty bleak. So what finale, what end comes of this that he said, yeah, all this stuff has to happen?
And he essentially sent Tristan into those bullets. Like, that's his grandson.
Yeah.
Right?
And he
No,
used to take to the World's Fairs and stuff. Like,
yeah, like he was grandpa.
So I mean, what kind of person even is he? Do we get to find that out? You know, and what is, I mean, who does that and why? What is your reasoning? So
I would like to find out more.
The man we thought he was.
yeah, he might not be the nicest
Or
dude.
there may be some underhanded reason behind why he did it that he didn't create himself, but he was forced into.
yeah,
I think you guys are catching on pretty nicely.
Oh, okay, good. I like it.
it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're both really jazzed. And Eric, I want to thank you for bringing me on this. I mean, 2.5 years ago, when you said, "Hey, do you want to do this NaNoWriMo thing?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." I never imagined us getting here, and this has been a freaking blast. Like, I've had a ball. I mean, as much as this is our project, you did not have to invite me into this playground, and I've had a blast.
I couldn't even imagine doing this without you as a partner on this, really. Like,
yeah.
and Jess, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to hang out and talk about it. It's been fun to, learn about the world, like each episode.
Well, and you've allowed it to have a whole other life, where now it gets to kind of have this fan feeling, and you've been able to sort of be this ambassador to the fans. And I'm really hoping that next season, as we push this one and everyone gets to binge it and have some fun with it, next season when we come back, you get a lot more questions, you get a lot more of that, and we really get to see a lot more of that side. So I'm really glad that you were a part of that.
Yeah, I've had so much fun, and it's been fun just to like hang out with you guys too.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it, and I've loved watching you guys create it too, because this has been created as we go. You guys didn't have it done.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
living. It was alive.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun, and it's really nice to have everybody, especially tonight, being able to have you and being able to have Michael here and everybody, and really just kind of being able to celebrate what I think was a really solid season.
Yeah.
And it's something that Eric and I have never done before. This was completely new to us. Obviously, like I've tried to work on novels before. Eric has finished a novel before. But even doing it like this is very different. And we got to, I know that, you're like, oh, you're writers, you're right. But they're different muscles for sure. And there's different ways of looking at it and dealing with it, especially when you understand, like, okay, well, I have to make sure that this episode tells its own story, but then gets people excited for the next one and keeps moving things along. And, you have to make sure that you plan ahead so that you have stuff to play with, being able to throw stuff out like the walking stick, like Jessica, like all that kind of stuff. Being able to do that allowed us, and that's something that we even learned on the fly, is let's have fun and create new things so that we can play with stuff. The Maggie Simpson stuff was made right on the fly.
Yeah.
And then being able to play with that again, which was one of my favorite and funnest things to play with in episodes 8 and 10.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun. So I think we really got to stretch a lot of muscles and play with a lot of stuff that we don't normally get to do. So man, thank you for letting me do this and for letting me play with you guys. This has been a blast.
It has. I can't wait to do more.
Yes.
So hurry up and write it, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, and we got probably like at least 2, 3. I'm like, a couple.
I think at this point we know when we want to bring it out, and we're hoping to have an announcement real soon. But of course, with everything going on in the world right now, we just want to kind of stabilize everything. I will make a promise. There will be a season 2. This will happen.
Yeah.
We just, Eric and I want to stabilize our bases, make sure that everything's okay. But I will tell you 100%, I've had too much fun, and we both had way too much fun doing this to leave you guys in the lurch. And what a dick move to leave you in nowhere. So I can promise you will see season 2. This won't be something where you're waiting a really long time. I think we still really would love to have it finished by the end of the year. We got to kind of get our stuff together, especially with everything going on in the world right now.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you guys, and thank
you.
people at home.
We'll see you guys next season.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Very soon.